We start in Syria, where Islamist rebels are closing in on the city of Homs after seizing Aleppo and Hama. Government forces appear to be unable to mount an effective resistance ever since the rebels launched their offensive last week. Taking Homs would bring them a step closer to capturing the capital, Damascus, and toppling President Assad's government.
Extremist rebels on the outskirts of Homs city. Footage released by the rebels showed them just a few kilometers from the city, often described as the main artery of Syria. A crossroads linking the capital, Damascus, to the coast and the rest of the country. Their momentum has been building since the extremist rebels' successful capture of Hama for the first time ever. It was a strategic and a symbolic win for those opposed to President Assad's rule. Anticipating their next move, Russian airplanes allied with Syria's government started bombing the bridge connecting Hama to Homs. The destruction of the bridge has been confirmed by the UK-based War Monitor. But the rebels have advanced regardless. Now Homs is the last line of defense between them and the Syrian capital. Turkey, which backs the Syrian Free Army and provides support to other factions too, has confirmed that's where the rebels are headed next.
Şu an itibariyle tabii İdlib,
Hama, Homs. Now the target is Damascus.
Şu an itibariyle devam ediyor. Biz de bunu
The advance of the opposition is continuing. We are monitoring it through our intelligence and our media.
Tabii temennimiz kazasız.
I would say we hope the advance will continue without any issues.
Yürüyüş devam etsin diyeceğim.
As Assad loses his grip on the country at an unprecedented pace, other fronts are bubbling too. Rebels have now captured territory south of Damascus, close to neighboring Jordan, which has responded by shutting its border, citing the security situation in Syria's south. In the Kurdish-controlled east, the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces captured territory from the government, reportedly without a fight after forces withdrew. Now, key players have signaled readiness for talks on Syria's political future.
We were surprised to see the sudden and rapid collapse of Syrian government forces on the front lines. Factions took control of large areas, imposing a new political and military reality.
For many in Syria, an unprecedented conviction that the rule of the Assads, spanning over 5 decades, may be nearing its end.
Let's get more from our reporter, Gasia Ohanes. Welcome, Gasia. How do people you've been speaking to in Syria feel about this surprisingly fast offensive?
Well, Phil, it's been insanely fast that people have not had time to process so far, but in recent days that seems to have changed. What I'm hearing now from people in Aleppo specifically is that the dust has settled and there's this conviction now, which is quite unprecedented, that this area is never going back under the control of the regime. Now this, I've never heard from people in those kinds of areas before. It's because people still believed, they were afraid that the government would retaliate against the rebels, that there would be another case like a siege on Aleppo like we saw in 2012 to 2014. But this time, it seems people are now convinced that's not happening. They say the government is no longer capable of carrying out that kind of brutal retaliation.
OK, so talk us through the latest developments.
The rebels have been closing in. As you said, they are advancing towards Homs, but that's not all. There's also a new offensive on the southern front. They have captured Daraa near the border with Jordan, and the Kurds have also captured territory on the east. So Assad is actually losing territory in all directions right now. And it looks like the Islamic State has also captured territory. So everybody's grabbing what they can right now in Syria, except for Assad. He's losing control of the territory.
Okay. And so what about Assad's allies, Iran and Russia? Where are they in all this?
Iran has sent drones in order to carry out more air attacks. They said they have to intensify those kinds of aerial raids, but they've so far been ineffective. And Russia as well has carried out some strikes, but both Iran militias have evacuated from certain areas and Russia has evacuated its nationals. It's called on all Russians to leave Syria, which indicates that, you know, they're afraid of really losing their grip on Syria.
Okay, so if this continues, then Damascus seems like the next stop.
It is, and Turkey has, in fact, confirmed this. Today, Erdogan was saying that Idlib, then Hama, then Homs, and next is Damascus. So if Erdogan is saying this, then Turkey-backed rebels are obviously going to head there, and Turkey would have this kind of intel.
Okay, Gasia, thank you for that. DW's Gasia Ohanes, thank you. Well, journalist Wladimir van Wildenburg writes for the Kurdistan Chronicle and joins us from Erbil in Iraq's Kurdish region. Welcome to DW. How far do you think are the rebels from taking Homs?
Well, according to the latest reports, they are already at the city gates, and also the Syrian government, they have forces, they have withdrawn from the city. So it seems it's a matter of time before they take the town. Although, on the other hand, the Syrian regime has also withdrawn forces from other provinces to strengthen their defenses in Damascus and also in Homs. So we have to see how it will go, but it most likely is that they're going to take the town.
So as far as Homs is concerned, as far as we know at this stage, they're meeting no resistance.
Exactly. According to the reports, the Syrian government army is crumbling. They're withdrawing from many points, not only from Homs, but also from other towns, like, for instance, Deir ez-Zor. And it seems that they're gonna, at some point, the rebels gonna reach Damascus.
What do the rebels want beyond overthrowing President Assad?
I mean, what they want, the rebels, I mean, it depends on who you talk about, which rebels, but if you talk about the rebels, like there was an interview by the leader of the HTS, Jolani, with CNN, where he talked about toppling the government, but also establishing local councils and a new administration system. So what the rebels want to establish a new system, but I'm not sure if it's going to be a democratic system like in Europe with elections and everything, because so far it's not, there's no clarity on that. So we have to see how it's going to work, because in practice, the rebels that have been marching on Damascus and other cities in their own areas that they control, they have their own local administration, but it's like an Islamist rule. So you can sort of compare it maybe to the Taliban or other groups with Islamist backgrounds.
Right. Now, you mentioned the city of Deir ez-Zor. That's a different fight in a separate part of Syria. That's Syrian Kurdish rebels who have taken that city. Just explain to us why Deir ez-Zor is strategically important.
So what happened is that the Syrian regime forces and Iranian-backed militia withdrew from Deir ez-Zor, and the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, they moved into Deir ez-Zor. Deir ez-Zor is very important because it's sort of a land bridge for Iranian-backed militias to go from Iraq to Syria and to support the Syrian government. So if they lose this important province, they will not have access anymore. And also the Syrian Democratic Forces are backed by the US, so it's unlikely that they will allow those militias to use this province to support the Syrian regime. So it will be another blow against the Syrian regime control in Syria.
OK, thanks for talking us through that, Wladimir. Wladimir van Wildenburg from the Kurdistan Chronicle.
Thank you.